And then we've got a little way behind it, the Fairey Swordfish 1 from Navy Wings, and in close formation with the Swordfish, an aircraft not employed during the Battle of the Atlantic, but nonetheless a notable biplane type from the interwar fleet air arm of the Royal Navy, the Hawker Nimrod. Think of the most significant battles of World War II, it's easy to overlook the Battle of the Atlantic to some extent, isn't it?
Yes, it is, of course. If you read your history books, and particularly anything that concerns Churchill, very often you'll come across, what worried him, and the one thing that worried him was that we would lose the Battle of the Atlantic. The Kriegsmarine had invested heavily in submarines. They were attacking our merchant ships, and our vital lifeline across the Atlantic was at risk. And had we lost that Battle of the Atlantic, undoubtedly we would have lost the war. Simple as that. And the Catalina was one of the factors why we actually managed to win that battle. And the other factor, well, there were three factors basically. We had cracked the German naval codes. We had radar, and we had aircraft such as not only the Catalina, but such as the Catalina, long-range aircraft that could reach deep into the Atlantic and go on the business of hunting submarines.
Because before that, there had of course been an area of the North Atlantic in which U-boats were able to go about their activities attacking the North Atlantic supply convoys bound for the UK, almost with impunity, hadn't they?
Yeah,
because
right.
there had been no aircraft, land-based aircraft, with the range long enough to get out there, and accompanied by the Luftwaffe Focke-Wulf Condor maritime strike aircraft.
That's right, and these aircraft were on that mission that today we call seek and destroy. They weren't only looking for where the submarines were, but they were actually attacking them. They would drop mines on them, and they were very successful in that respect too. The Germans actually lost a huge number of submarines. There was a period, a really dark period for the Royal Navy and the merchant ships, where we were losing vast quantities of our maritime. And then, as I said, we managed to crack the Lorenz code of the Kriegsmarine, the German Navy, and we had these long-range aircraft, and the combination of all those factors really did turn the tide.
It was rather symbolic when the Catalina entered service with RAF squadrons based in Northern Ireland in 1941. Their first major success was as part of the hunt for the German battleship Bismarck, which was first located off the French port of Brest by a Catalina of number 209 squadron flying from Lough Erne in Northern Ireland. And despite gunfire from the Bismarck, it was shadowed by that and another Catalina from number 240 squadron until naval vessels were back in the vicinity, including HMS Ark Royal and its Swordfish, which I suspect we'll come on to.
Yes, that's right. It was only later in, we think also about Catalina's from the point of view of that search and rescue missions that they carried out, but that really didn't happen until the latter stages of the war.
No. As represented by this one in the markings of an OA-10A of the US Army Air Forces, absolutely, yes. They've been wanting to get their hands on them in the European theatre for some time, but they simply weren't available.
These aircraft, such as this, were widely used around the world. In fact, they were used a lot in the Pacific War.
Yes. RAF Catalina's operating from Gibraltar covered the Allied landings in North Africa. They protected the convoys flying from a base near Murmansk. And the last U-boat to be sunk by Coastal Command during World War II fell to a Catalina flying northeast of the Shetland Islands just one day before VE Day.
We think of these as flying boats. The original Catalinas were exactly that. They were only used to take off from water. But the one we are looking at right now is an amphibian. It has floats so they can land on the water, but it also has basically an undercarriage which will enable it to land on a runway and land as they used to up at Halesworth up in Suffolk there.
Yes, that was the base of the 5th Emergency Rescue Squadron, whose colours this Catalina owned by Plain Sailing wears.
This is operated effectively privately. There's a consortium of owners. And the Catalina that we are looking at here has one or two modifications. The fuselage dome-shaped windows are oversized. That was because of plans to use this machine as a safari tourist
Indeed.
trip.